Needless to say that the existence of robot villagers in Animal Crossing has been one of the biggest mysteries that I have been waiting to tackle for a very long time. So today is the day. It's time to figure out, why are there robot villagers in Animal Crossing? The fact that Animal Crossing has walking, talking, intelligent AI is pretty crazy. The fact of the matter is that these robot villagers are very impressive. Put their appearance to the side for a moment, and just look at their actions and their speech. You can't tell these robot villagers apart from the rest of the villagers. They act the same, talk the same. These robot villagers are completely independent, intelligent AIs. In our world, we've had some intelligent AIs surface, but nothing like this. And while we can call these robots our friends, there's still so many mysteries about them. Who made them? Why are there numbers on them? And what is their purpose? Well, today I will do my best to answer that question. After all, I want to know how my friend Ribot here came to be. But to start off where these robot villagers came from, let's first introduce all the robot villagers. So we'll need to start from the beginning. First, there is Sprocket, the green mechanical ostrich from the first Animal Crossing game. Then there is my favorite, Ribot, the robotic frog who also appeared in the first game. And then there is Dell, the robot villager who is supposed to be based on the Japanese battleship, the Yamato. These are all the available robot villagers in Animal Crossing. There are some robot villagers that aren't in the game at this moment, however, like the long-forgotten Nindori, who is an orange robotic ostrich, whose design was based on the GameCube, and only appeared in the Japanese games via his e-reader card. And that is all the robot villagers in Animal Crossing. But just simply knowing these robot villagers doesn't answer any questions on where they came from and why they're here. Well, my fellow viewers, I hate to admit it, but I lied to you earlier. Because I didn't mention all the robot villagers. I neglected to mention two other robot villagers that I believe may be the key to answering these questions. Two robot villagers that have not appeared in Animal Crossing since Animal Forest E+. The two robot villagers I am talking about are Bow and Meow. Bow and Meow are villagers that only appeared in Animal Forest E+, a Japanese exclusive update of the GameCube American release of Animal Crossing. Bow and Meow could only move into a village if the player had their e-reader cards. Now you may have noticed that their appearance is rather different compared to the other three robot villagers that you can find in Animal Crossing New Horizons. And yeah, with villagers like Sprocket and Ribot being more similar to the general pop culture depictions of robots, with obvious mechanical parts and visible screws, Meow and Bow instead have faces designed to resemble monochrome LCD screens, with the outside of their faces both having a button or a logo placed on their foreheads. Now before I go into how these two forgotten robot villagers help us answer the meaning behind the robot villagers, I feel it's important to tell you all the inspiration of Bow and Meow, as I'm sure many of you don't know what these villagers are based off of. They are actually inspired by something from our world, but we need to go back to my childhood, back to the early 2000s. The Bowlingual was a computer-based dog language-to-human language translation device developed by Japanese toy company Takara, and first sold in Japan in 2002. It was also later released in South Korea and America in 2003. The device is presented as a translator, but also has been called an emotional analyzer. It is said to categorize dog barks into one of 6 standardized emotional categories. Bowlingual also provides a phrase which is representative of that emotion. The product instructions state that these phrases are for entertainment purposes only, and are not meant to be an accurate translation of each bark. The device consists of a handheld receiver that contains an LCD information screen, and functions as the controller and a wireless microphone transmitter which is attached to the dog's collar. When a dog barks, the microphone records and transmits the sound to the handheld unit for computer analysis by database. voice, with thousands of dog barks pre-recorded into it. The unit then categorizes the bark into one of 6 distinct emotions, and displays the corresponding emotion on the screen. After displaying the emotion, the bilingual then displays a phrase which has been categorized to fit within the range of each emotion. And the bilingual was a huge success, as it was named by Time magazine as one of the best inventions of 2002. And the inventors of the bilingual were awarded the 2002 IG Nobel Prize for promoting peace and harmony between the species. Because of this success, a sequel device was released, the Meowlingual, which attempted to do the same thing as the bilingual, except for cats. The Meowlingual, however, didn't see the same commercial success, as it was only released in Japan. And now that you know about the bilingual and the Meowlingual, which is what Bow and Meow are based off of, which means that they are robots that use LCD screens to show their emotions and facial expressions. Kinda reminds me of those Disney ride animatronics, honestly. And while all of this is interesting, learning about some long-forgotten robot villagers and remembering a popular dog translation toy, it doesn't really answer why we have robot villagers in Animal Crossing. Well, my dear viewers, allow me to explain how the backstory of Bow and Meow explains the presence of robots in Animal Crossing. Back in early 2016, I made a theory video discussing the backstory of the Animal Crossing universe. Now you can watch this video of mine, however, it is very old and not that good, in my opinion. But I still feel I make some decent points in the video. So if you're curious, go watch it. But I will be summarizing what I discussed in this old theory video, as it does relate to this theory. So in this video, I was discussing why there are so many animals compared to humans in Animal Crossing. While there is a human population, there's definitely way more animals. Because of this, I deduced that the Animal Crossing universe actually takes place many years into the future, after a war where humans almost wiped each other out. Essentially, Animal Crossing takes place after an apocalyptic war, where the human race almost wiped itself out. I also theorize that the animal villagers we see today are not the same as the normal animals like the birds and frogs that we also see, as these animal villagers are actually offspring of lab-tested animals that were created and bred to be more intelligent than normal animals, which is why we see both animal villagers and normal animals. You see, Matt Pat, I had an explanation for this 5 years ago, way before your video. Moving on, I came to this conclusion being inspired by information from the fantastic book The Secret of NIMH. And I also related this to a real-life event, as in the early 1900s, a scientist... Yeah, I'm not gonna try that name. But this man attempted scientific experiments to create an ape-human hybrid to fight in wars. So yeah, that was my theory. Animal Crossing takes place after a war breaks out between humans, almost killing all of the humans. Your character is an offspring of some of the last human survivors. And the villagers are offspring of lab-tested animals that are able to walk, talk, and even have their own society with a currency. Basically, intelligent walking, talking animals. But there are still normal animals like birds, frogs, turtles, octopuses, owls, etc. And that's because those animals aren't offspring of the smarter lab-tested animals. There's even some more evidence that suggests this theory is legitimate, as there are some artifacts from our past like art and even the old NES games. Okay, so we've gone over robot villagers and who they are. I've introduced you to Bow and Meow and the dog translation device they are based off of, and I've summarized a theory video I made 5 years ago. So how does all of this apply to the question, why are there robot villagers in Animal Crossing? Well, viewers, allow me to explain. You see, we need to go back. When you apply the theory I made with the lab-tested animals and the war that almost wiped out humans, we need to go back when the animals were building up their civilization. When the animals were starting to build their civilization, they had to create their own language. And it actually has a name. It's called Animalese. And while Animalese is its own language, it's also pretty similar to our language. This makes sense, as these intelligent lab-tested animals probably based their language off the language the human scientists spoke to them. But while this language may be similar to our language, it was still a different language. So I imagine when the humans finally showed back up, they now realized they were not alone, and they were no longer the dominant species. These animals are building a society, their own language, their own currency, homes, electricity. And above all that, the animal villagers outnumber the humans by a lot. When the humans finally resurface, possibly literally, maybe hiding in underground bunkers, they notice that the planet isn't theirs anymore, and they are intimidated. What if these animals don't like humans? Well, if they know the humans caused the war, how can we communicate with them? They have their own language. So what are these humans going to do? Well, they're going to approach this like we would say a bomb. Send in a robot to deactivate it. I believe Bow and Meow were created by human robotic engineers to study and learn animalese, so the humans can interact with the animals. They built these robot villagers to learn about the animal villagers, their language, their goals, and their morals, but from a distance. The humans were so outnumbered by the animals, they wanted to make sure they were safe to interact with them. And so they made more robot villagers. First Bow and Meow to learn the language of the animal villagers, and then the other robots like Sprocket, Ribbot, and Dell to learn even more. They had these robots fool the animals and integrate into their society while studying the results from a far off location. You guys may think it may not be believable now since you can clearly tell these are robots, but maybe back in the day they had a different skin that made them look more alive. But maybe over the years that fake skin wore off, showing the robot underneath. This is also why you see the numbers on these robot villagers, because they made a lot of these robot villagers to learn about these intelligent animals. And these robots needed to be good, as these animals were intelligent. So these robot engineers created robot animals to mimic the personalities and actions of the villagers to a T. And have you ever wondered why there hasn't been any new robot villagers since the first games? Because the humans don't need them anymore. Since then, the humans have successfully integrated into the society of the animals, as the animals are a much more peaceful species, who had learned from the humans' mistakes. And now, with the animals and the humans now living together, and the humans now understanding the animalese language, the robots didn't really have a directive anymore. Yeah, you still see some robot villagers like Sprocket, Dell, or my favorite Ribbot. It's more than likely that these are just left over from that time, when humans used these robots to learn and study the intelligent animals that now dominate the planet. But sadly, this means some other robots that weren't mass-produced like the others have more than likely been broken down and have been forgotten and destroyed over time. And today, the only reminders of these robots that the humans use to learn about these intelligent animal villagers are Sprocket, Dell, and Ribbot robots that were mass-produced, which is why you still see so many of them today. And that is why there are robot villagers in Animal Crossing. To recap, a long time ago, humans tested on animals, making them intelligent, maybe for war purposes. Around the same time, the humans fought in a war that nearly wiped out the human race. The surviving humans sought shelter, maybe in underground bunkers, and these intelligent animals escaped the labs and built up a new society. And when the humans re-emerged, they were vastly outnumbered by the animals. They were unsure of the animals' intentions, and they were intimidated by the number of the animal villagers. So they asked their engineers to create animal robots like Bow and Meow to blend in with the animals and to learn the animal language. And then they created other animal robots like the Ribbots and the Sprockets. And after their research, the humans not only learned the language, but they also learned that these animals were peaceful and also intelligent, unlike the normal birds and owls and frogs you see. And this is why there are robot villagers in Animal Crossing. And the Ribbot, Sprocket, and Dells you see are what's left of the mass production of robot villagers from many years before. And while the fate of the forgotten robots is sad, even now it makes me a little sad that we haven't seen Bow and Meow or Nindori since the early 2000s. But we can still be happy at the fact that we still have some of our little robot friends. Hey everyone, thank you for listening to my rather long-winded theory. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, and if you're new, please subscribe for updates on future content. But again, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.